Okay, here we are. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Forged in Idaho. So basically, this is a podcast where I go around to the members of my crew and we talk about the work they do.
Okay.
And we talk about the team. We talk about why it's great to be on a team and ultimately why it's great to be a tradesman doing good work. So you're my lead painter.
Yes, sir.
You've always been a painter. Pretty much every Owsley is a painter. How's that go? How's that go when you're growing up as an Owsley? Is there an option? Do you get to choose to be a painter?
I mean, kind of. But I
Okay.
think we're all just born with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
My dad painted in college, and I started painting when I was 12. Well, I guess technically when I was 6, I started helping him, spackling holes and whatnot. But he had to do my first full house when I was 12 to paint with my cousin. And as the oldest brother, I just kind of pioneered, and all my brothers followed, and
Yeah.
2 of us have owned businesses, and
Yeah.
we're all just painters through and through. So
Sure. And every now and then, as schedules dictate, you end up doing something that's not painting, and you choose to have a good attitude about it, but you'd always rather have a paintbrush.
yeah. Yes, it's true.
And that's a very unique thing for me because I'm on the
Mhm.
opposite end of that, and I'm very grateful to have you as a painter. What are the things that you that really just gives you satisfaction as a tradesman who does painting?
I think a lot of things that give me satisfaction are actually things that other people would hate. Things like repetition and painting being tedious and very detail oriented. I find a lot of joy in just making something look perfect. You know, when you go to a job and you're handed a set of just ugly trim, it's my job to make that look good. And so there's a lot of prep that goes into it, but walking away from a job and seeing a glossy, just perfect finish on trim, I mean, there's nothing more satisfying to me than that. And I don't know, I've always just loved that. So
What one of the wonderful things about being on a team is there are different skill sets within the team, and so you've got finished carpenters who are setting you up for success.
Yep.
Talk about the rivalry there, right? Obviously, there's the opportunity a carpenter has to give the painter the product that he needs to efficiently do a job.
yeah.
And one of the benefits that you have is you have a direct line of communication to anybody that hands you a bad product.
Yeah.
Talk about how that's been. Tell us some fun stories.
Over the years, it's been difficult. I mean, there's a lot of carpenters who just don't care. And will hand me a product where the gaps are really big or where nails aren't set, and I have to go through and do extra work. That being said, Forge specifically, the guys here, like you said, that that direct communication, I'm able to go to them during the process and say, hey, would you mind doing this differently? What I've found is that usually they just don't know. It's not a thing where they're intentionally trying to harm me. It's just not understanding what I do for a living. And so with that two-way communication, we've been able to balance that out, and I'm able to pick up some of their slack. They're able to pick up some of mine. And so that's been hugely helpful. Our lead carpenter here, David, him and I have had a rivalry over the years with this, because I think both of us have struggled with trying to stay in our lane. But over time, as I've done carpentry jobs, he's done painting jobs with me. We've kind of just found out this system that works really, really well, where when he leaves the job site, it's completely ready for me. And I've been able to pick up, some things that help him out. Hey, don't worry about the gap there. I can caulk that. It's not a big deal. And I can shave, an hour of labor that he would have had to do. And so just things like that. It's a give and it's a take. It's a push and it's a pull. But I think that we found a system that works, and that's been really fun.
The the other thing too is it really starts to show up when it comes to siding. There's a definite overlap in siding in a unique way, because a sider is typically caulking and leaving it paint ready.
Yeah.
And not everybody's a good caulker. And one of the things that I just really love on our crew is when I can get you trained up on siding,
Yeah.
and you can be there with the guys as they're going along, and we can actually begin paint prep while we're siding in
Yeah.
a really effective way. That can be showing up around roof lines where gutters are going to end up being. Talk through that process a little bit.
Yeah, so I actually just got off a job where we did that. We did a lot of paint prep while we were siding, and we had the pump jacks up on one side, and we were able to put up our siding and then caulk on our way back down. So we side up, caulk down, and then move the pump jacks, and so it was super efficient. Um, and in the process, I got to learn a lot about siding. I got to be a cut guy. I got to be an installer, um, and I just got to see how much hard work those guys put in, and really start to appreciate that. But also, get to knock out some of my work in the process. And next year when we go back and paint that job in the summer, it's already caulked. So all I got to do is mask it and spray it. So yeah, that was super efficient, and it was a really good time for me too. I got to learn a lot. So
What do people need to know about staining? So staining is obviously in your peer review. Here, a lot of people don't think about the weather that we deal with and how staining can be affected. So, uh, tell us more about that.
as far as applications, staining and painting are very similar. The main exception is that with stain like this, you can spray it, but it's not really that efficient. There's a lot of waste. Um, you're going to be using oil base, and oil doesn't stick as much, doesn't set as much on the wall. It's going to floats everywhere, and so you have a lot of waste. But yeah, I mean the application's pretty similar. The prep's the same. Um, the main thing that people don't think about here with stain is if you stay, especially like if you're staining like a walking surface or like a front door, any access to sun is going to make that fade, and so you're going to have to restain, every few years. But your house is technically better protected. You just got to do it more often. It's a really interesting process around here. So
Yeah, weather-wise, especially.
yeah.
It's really hard to get staining. You're in here in our nice little heated area, getting some product done. What about Idaho? Being a painter in the weather, what are the challenges there?
Um, Probably the biggest challenge is not being able to work in the winter. I mean, ever since I started painting as a teenager, it's you work all summer, you work all spring, but as soon as winter comes, it's pretty sparse. Um, People don't generally want or think about painting in the winter, even though if we set up our schedule well, we'd do exteriors, in the summer, and then in the winter we would do interiors. But I don't know what it is about this season. People just don't want to paint. So that's probably the biggest challenge. Anything below 40 degrees, you can't paint in, and that's surface temperature of what you're painting, and the paint has to be able to like dry on that surface while it's 40. So you have to have a 12-hour weather window above 40 degrees, which in the winter in Idaho, that's not a thing. It just doesn't happen unless you're
Right.
really lucky. And so you kind of got to roll the dice and maybe do a job here and there. But for the most part, winters they're just sparse for work.
Yeah.
So
What about just the broad Chris Owsley? What else are you interested in? What do you do when you're not painting?
think about painting. Not really. I got a wife and a couple kiddos, and I spend a lot of time with them. We're big gamers, all of us. Um, so we play a lot of video games, and I am a jungle gym for my children. That's what I end up spending most of my time doing, is just being jumped on and climbed on. I got a huge family here. Came from a family of 10, so got a lot of siblings, and my parents. I spend a lot of time with them, just playing board games and playing yard games, and just I don't know. We have a really tight family, and so that's what I spend most of my free time doing. It's just hanging out with them. So
Yeah, we've had game nights, and you're definitely probably one of the most competitive members that I've ever seen as far as playing Secret Hitler. And what really fires you up, and just gets you excited besides you're excited about painting, you're excited about the gaming. What makes you passionate about work in general?
Um, yeah, that's a hard question because I think for a long time, uh, nothing. Work was just one of those things I went and did because I needed to make money. Um, One thing I found in the last several years is that a relationship with Christ really, really enables you to have joy in everything you do. And so in my work, I've started to focus on the fact that God has given me these hands with the talents that I have, which with painting, as you and I have talked about before, not many people like it.
That's a rare one.
Most people are thankful that I'm the one doing it because they don't want to be doing it. Whereas for me, I actually love it. I love just taking the time to do something perfectly. And most people, you know, they don't want to sit there and cut in a baseboard super carefully on your hands and knees. But for me, that just brings me joy. And knowing that God has given me that talent and the avenue to pursue it, um, in Forged right now, I think that that's just a huge blessing. And as long as I'm out there working for His glory, like it's all worth it, and it's all joyful. So
Right.
I get to provide for my family, um, and I get to help out my coworkers and my team. And I don't know, there's just I found a lot of joy in it.
Yeah.
So
No, that's absolutely it. The gifts that we've been given are a gift, and it is amazing to look at our crew here and see how well we complement one another.
yeah,
Right. Every one of us has weaknesses. Every one of us makes mistakes, and the setting in which a bunch of individuals hold each other accountable and hone one another is really I think all of us fired up and
yeah,
excited to join up with one another again and do good work.
yeah,
So thanks for being a member of the crew, and
absolutely.
thanks for talking.